Ready. Play.
I mean, so we had Leylah getting to the semis
Yeah.
on the back of her 250 the week before in Hong Kong, her 250 success. As you highlighted, she beat Siniakova there, and then Siniakova won the return match here in the semis. Where are we at? We're in a good moment for Leylah, I guess. I mean, I've written two names down. Funny enough, I've got Leylah and also got Maria Sakkari written down in the same kind of bracket. I know that Sakkari, of course, wasn't involved in the latter two tournaments, but they've both had successes recently in terms of titles, albeit one was 1,000, one was a 250, but there was a lot talked about with Maria's run to that 1,000 title in terms of the level of opposition. And they both probably in a way have a similar significance, despite the fact one's a 251. They've just basically won a title, and that's huge for both players, I think. But there is a slight asterisk with both of them in that I don't know if it changes a huge amount going into, say, Australia. I don't think, bless you. I don't think, suddenly because of those two results, I'll be probably predicting them to get to the quarters or the semis in Melbourne. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I must admit, I lost some of that because I was sneezing. Leylah Fernandez. I put a tweet out saying that I wasn't expecting a win streak from her, but I'm here for it. Leylah is. I'm optimistic about Leylah. I think it's the end of the year, yes, but she's had putting together a decent run is going to give her some confidence going into 2024. We know what she's capable of. I think she's one of those players who needs momentum, and some of the draws that she's had really kind of stalled her to a certain extent, like keeps running into Garcia in early rounds or someone like that. That Hong Kong run was like some of the best tennis I've seen from her in a while. I think she was unfortunate to play Siniakova, who could kind of match her for kind of craftiness. But she's now 35 in the world. She's 3 away from an Australian Open seeding. If things go well for her early 2024, then she could steal something in the first week of the year, maybe. But that's kind of big.
You say she's 35 in the world right now, yeah?
Yes, she's just jumped to 35 off the back of the last couple of weeks.
I mean, if she just maintains something, maybe even creeps up 1 or 2 spots, because
she even if she doesn't make it Australia, I think she's got herself a good chance of creeping up, because she's got big points from the end of the year now with a 250 followed by a 250 semi-final. I think a couple of others scattered throughout the year. But yeah, I'm always going to be big on Leylah Fernandez. I'm always going to be positive about her chance.
Listen, I love Leylah, and the fact that she's been in a final and had that unbelievable run in New York, and the way it came about and the way she came through that, and the fact that she couldn't quite get over the line. I have huge amounts of interest and sympathy on players that get to Grand Slam finals, because you just don't know if or when it'll happen again. Ons is probably the classic case, but on the men's side, of course, you've got Casper as well, both those two players.
You've got, that French Open quarterfinal she had in 2022, where she was just so unfortunate to be injured, because that could have been a very interesting, if she'd beaten Trevisan and was healthy, a match against Goff in that semi-final could have been very, very competitive. And herself, I don't think she would have beaten Iga, because no one was beating Iga that year. But
the thing is, the more I watch,
and like Roland Garros, ideal location for her, because it suits her so well.
Yeah, I agree. But the more I watch of Leylah, the more I realize that actually the run that she had to the US Open final was actually not as freakish. In other words, we watched it and we saw how it battling through 3 setters and deciding set tie breaks and prevailing over Osaka and pulling off a few surprises, because at that point she wasn't quite as well known as she is today. But I think that's unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on which way you look at it, is going to be the way she's going to have to do it, because whenever I see her, she goes up a break or something, but you know how vulnerable she is on serve, but then she can also be down a break or even a double break. It was in New York this year, and I think she almost got it back in the deciding set. She's someone that unfortunately, if she's not going to ever do it the easy way, and that's partly because of the way she plays, partly because of that serve. That I think if somebody can get to her and help her with that serve, that would be unbelievable. Myles wants to tell us. Go on, Nick. But Myles just wants to say something as well. But
she is definitely comparatively underpowered. And so the way she plays is kind of around that. So I'm not surprised the serve is attackable, but it's that fight, that grit that's got her where she is. And you're right, she's going to have to do it again. So that way, but I think she's perfectly capable of doing it, and she seems to thrive off doing it.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Your cue, Myles. This is your. I thought to myself, you know what? We're so smooth at talking tennis that I won't even need to say, "Hey, Myles, what do you reckon?" So I just left it silent, and then we both spoke at the same time.
I think that is what actually makes talking tennis what it is, like the idiosyncracies and the rough ends that make us relatable.
So tell us,
Leylah, I'm actually the most bullish, I guess, in a lack of a better term that comes to mind about her that I have been since that French Open last year. I watched a couple of her matches in Hong Kong, and I was nervous from the very get-go because she drew Azarenka in the first round of that tournament, and she got a little lucky that Azarenka retired from an injury at the beginning of the third set / end of the second. But I feel like Leylah is a person that thrives off of the feeling of winning, and she hadn't had that many really positive feelings over the past year because of the injury. And now that she's gotten it, I think the championship in Hong Kong and the semi in Jingji, it was a semi, correct?
Yeah.
With her being already inside the top 40, knowing what it feels like to get to a Grand Slam final, having 3 WTA titles underneath her belt, I don't see why she can't have a springboard in 2024 or just have a consistent career like that. In terms of, like, you never really want to count her out, because even though she isn't necessarily a person with a lot of big weapons, she has to have some of the biggest heart and tenacity on the tour, as well as the best legs. She can pretty much get her racket on everything, even with that small frame. And maybe I shouldn't say always, but I think of her and how I think of Dominika Cibulkova, who made a career off of being just as feisty as that and kind of being able to overpower the people she was supposed to, and then use other tactics against people that could overpower her, and just make herself a relevant top 30 player for most of her career, despite being so small. And if I'm being very confident and like very big on Leylah, why can't she have a good Australian Open? Why can't she have a good first 6 months of the season to kind of be like, hey, you guys forgot about me a little bit, but here I am now. So I feel good about that.
I'm all here for it, Myles. I just don't know if the 2 titles that I mentioned, one for Marie and one for Leylah, has changed my thoughts that much. But maybe Nick is sharing your optimism. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sharing his optimism. I'm sharing optimism. I am all aboard the Leylah hype train, my friend. And this is what Myles has expressed very much my thoughts as well. Look, I'm not going to be confidently predicting Leylah Fernandez to win majors. I'd probably be more confident predicting her to win a major than Maria Sakkari, but I would be, but like that's not very much. But you know, that's because she's kind of been so close before. What I think that I'm here for Fernandez, at least having maybe realistically we're talking like a kind of a boost for the first couple of weeks of the year, a bit like Alicia Parks had with the way she ended 2022. Got to 2023, won a title early on. Hey, look, I think they might be going back to Monterrey. I'm sure Leylah can sneak a title there again. I'm all aboard the Fernandez hype train. I'm not going to predict like she's winning the Australian Open or anything. I would be fully willing to put her in the second week of Australia, depending on how the draw goes. She's probably not going to be seeded. It's going to be, she'd probably have to win or go deep very early on, maybe play someone like Auckland, get some cheeky points on the board. But if she was to just miss out, then, and she played someone like, I don't know, I'm not going to go for like stupid dog saying right at the top, like someone like let's say Sakari in round 1 or a Krejcikova in round 1. You know, she's been upset alert. She could definitely pull off that upset, but also that would be, given how well those two could play, also particularly unfortunate, or even a Madison Keys in round 1, something like that. You know, that would be
or even if she gets through the tight moments of going against somebody that's a higher seed, we've seen what that does to her for the remainder of the tournament. That gives her a boost. And I do agree with what you said about, if I had to choose between Maria Sakkari and Leylah Fernandez, who would win a major, some might find it debatable that I would say Leylah over Sakkari, because Sakkari's technically the more accomplished player, but Leylah has a one-up on her in some different categories in the way that she doesn't have nearly the amount of quote-unquote baggage in very tight moments and moments later on deeper in the tournament. She knows what it feels like to win a tournament because she's basically been doing it every year for the past 3 years, whereas Sakkari has had a significant gap between those feelings. So yeah, I feel more that the Hong Kong and follow-up 250 tournament means something in terms of Leylah, way more than I feel like the 1,000 win a couple of weeks ago in Guadalajara for Sakkari means something.
Sure.
In my personal opinion.
One thing though I would say about Leylah is that unlike that US Open run, at least the matches that spring to mind for me for her in the last 12 months, for example, she's lost a few of the tight ones. So instead of winning the tight ones that she was winning in New York in 2021, I mean, I'm thinking about the first round. Who did she play? Samsonova, was it, in New York? She had a really tough first round in New York, and it went 3 sets. I think she won the first set, lost the second. Third set was tight, but despite the fact she was down a double break, she gets a break back. But you know, she was a break up, I think, maybe in the second set as well. It was just one of those matches where they were breaking left, right, and center.
It was Alexandrova she played.
Alexandrova,
which is not a person you really want to see in the, well, you want to see her, but then you also know that she's not great at Grand Slams either. But either way, she puts out a good fight. Yeah,
and she can hit the ball as well pretty hard.
Yeah.
So, But anyway, and that was a tight one, and it could have gone either way. The problem was that day, like often is the case, you just never felt that Leylah was ever going to be in control of the match because she just couldn't hold serve. And then I also think I remember her playing Caroline Garcia. It might have been straight sets in the end, but it was in Australia, I think. And the tie break was on Leylah's racket in that there was a shot on top of the net. I think she had a volley anyway, and she didn't put that away. And I think that she sort of carried that into the next 2 points, and the second set ran away from her.
It was 7-6. It was 7-6, 7-5. Second round of Australia this year.
7-5, exactly. So it shows you how close it was, even if it was straight sets. And so I've just seen the matches that stuck out for me for her this year have been super close, but she was on the wrong end of that. Anyway, Nick, any final words on Leylah before we get to your favorite trophy?
I mean, let's say that she you're right on that, but the most recent tight match that she had, she did turn it around multiple times in Hong Kong. Siniakova in the final, but also the Andreeva second round. That could have gone horribly wrong given her record against Andreeva from Madrid earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Can I just say something about Hong Kong? Oh, looking in terms of how it makes sense in Leylah's career.
Why weren't you on last week, Myles?
I don't know. I don't remember why. My memory.
It was Anastasia last week, I think.
That's why, because Anastasia needs shine in the WTA Weekly as well. I can't take up all the shine, Nick. Jeez, can't do it. In terms of Hong Kong, though, they have in terms of the past decade, they have a very, very, very good women's singles trophy lineup in championship history, and I'm glad Leylah's now in that. The only, I guess, quote unquote sneak, I guess you could say, in the past 10 years is Jastrzębska. But at one point, there was good reason to be hopeful that Jastrzębska was going to be a top 15, top 10, or even higher player. But the remainder of the players have all been in finals of Grand Slams, like Leylah Fernandez, Pavlyuchenkova, Caroline Wozniacki, Jelena Jankovic, and Sabine Lisicki have all won that Tokyo title in the past 10 years. So Leylah Fernandez, I know it's a 250 on paper, and then she gets to the semifinal, another one on paper, but I'm also clouding all of what I'm saying with the actual like I have for Leylah and her brand of tennis. But I think it means something. I think it means something for sure.
Sean does have a question I just want to answer very quickly, which is there a player Of similar build to Leylah, who's above her in the rankings. I was going to say no. John is suggesting Kasatkina, but Kasatkina is a counter puncher, but she's not really the same kind of build. She's a bit taller than Fernandez. In fact, Fernandez is definitely slighter build.
Camilla Giorgi, but I don't think Camilla Giorgi's
Georgie is
actually
not
above
ranked
her.
above Leylah.
But they have similar-ish, like just very slight but dynamic packages. Yeah.
But yeah, no one above her, I don't think.
Yeah.
But yeah, game style wise, Kasatkina is the closest.
I still think Leylah. I would say that Leylah's game style is more exciting than Kazakhstan. I mean,
absolutely.
I said close. I didn't say similar.
Yeah. Okay. if there's a lefty, I think you guys might know what I'm about to say. If there's a lefty that has seemed underpowered and like lacked some kind of weapons and has had ebbs and flows of their career that Leylah could look forward to, her name is Angelique Kerber.
Yes.
Fernandez has beaten. If she should actually watch a couple of Kerber's matches, because Kerber made it through the bulk of her career with a serve that just kind of got the point started, and Fernandez is in that same category. So, and they're both lightning quick.
Comparison, especially and like I remember watching that US Open match they played in 2021, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed watching them sort of try to outdo each other at the same game, pretty much.
Agreed.
I know you're not the biggest Kerber fan, but
I mean, hey, I respect her. I respect the fact that she made me. I respect the fact that she made me have to respect her. Like she has enough in her resume for her to go down as a Hall of Fame champion, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of her game style and who she beat to kind of get the recognition that she's gotten. But it's sports. It's okay.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.